Hello, and welcome to TableTalk Friday, your weekly dose of D&D hosted by three boys in a bedroom. If you like their style, you can follow them on Instagram, YouTube, and other social media platforms. And now, back to the boys.
You boys ever seen a GameCube controller? Because as opposed to an Xbox or you know like a PlayStation, they've got the A button right in the middle.
Yeah, and it's weird to me because I feel like no matter which button you're pressing on a GameCube controller, you know exactly which one you're pressing. Like I could put my finger down towards it, eyes like I'm blindfolded. I reach towards the controller and I put a hand on any button on a GameCube controller. I know which one I'm clicking.
Where's the X button?
The X button is on the top of the A button.
No, it's not. It's to the right.
Shoot.
I know. It's confusing.
Shoot. Okay.
And then the Y is to the top, but they're both the same color for no good reason.
See, but the cool thing is they're all different shapes. That I do like the GameCube controller because it's so unique and every button is a different shape, so they're each very unique. But also I hate the GameCube controller because it's like, okay, I may be illiterate at the GameCube controller, but you hand that to anyone who's picked up a controller nowadays, like a kid, and they're like, "What is this?"
It's a relic from the past.
It is a relic from the past.
I mean, it's like if you try and put a N64 controller in my hands, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh
with
yeah,
that.
no, I don't know how to use that thing.
I don't think I ever played an N64.
Well, so I do know how, but it doesn't click in my brain because I didn't grow up with one. But there's 3 prongs coming out of the controller. You would think that you put your hands on the left and right side, but then you got like this weird little, dangling penis in the middle with a joystick on it. The intended method for how you're supposed to hold this thing is you put your left hand on the middle prong, and then the left, or the one off to the left has like a little D-pad, little yellow buttons on it. You hardly use those.
I hate that. I feel like you should, if you're going to move your hands at all, because like in the old days you could do trick shot, claws, or whatever they called them, you would always use your right hand. So the idea that you'd move your left anywhere is absolutely throwing me off. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I guess it was useful for the Zelda games back in the day, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, because whenever those button layouts come out on like the 3DS version of the game and stuff, I'm like, oh geez, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, well, so they had their Z lock, because that's what they called the little trigger behind the joystick was the Z button. And it was like a trigger shape, so that's where locking onto things came from.
Jeez.
When I look at those controllers, I kind of think of like a Bop It. I expect to have to tug on the bottom little penis-y shaped thing. I feel like it would do something. If you twisted it, maybe you could melee somebody.
I do have a question for you guys. What is your overall favorite controller, though?
I mean, it sounds stupid. I'm just going to go with the Series X. I think it's the most comfortable. I think it's the most up-to-date one. Muscle memory to it. And it feels good. I like it. It's not too big, not too small.
Zach?
And so I know that my opinion is factually wrong here, but my hands like what they like, and I've always felt most comfortable holding a PlayStation controller. Like
an original one?
Well, not the original. No, the original one is
Which
duty
one?
dog shit. But I liked the DualShock 2 on PlayStation 2. I loved the DualShock 3, even though it was the same thing. And then the DualShock 4, I really like the DualShock 4. I know it got a lot of flack.
I don't like the DualShock 4.
But now, I've got my hands on the DualShock 5. It doesn't feel
DualSense.
DualSense. I'm sorry. The PS5 PlayStation controller. I got my hands on it, and you know what? It feels like a PS4 controller. It's got the little HD trigger sense. That's neat. I guess it's that one.
Well, thank you for bringing it up, Zach, because the DualSense is by far my favorite controller that I've ever owned. It's amazing. I don't like the DualShock 4. I have held the DualShock 4 for many times, and when I got my hands finally on a DualSense, I was like, this is home. This is where I belong. Before I got a DualSense, I would have said an Xbox 360 controller was probably the most comfortable in my hands. Just it's what I grew up with. It's what I played on most of the time. Love that controller to death. Still have a USB one that I plug into my computer if I play a PC game that's an RPG. So, Nowadays, though, if I can use the DualSense for anything, I'm going to use the DualSense. It feels great. I love the adaptive triggers. The rumble feels so good. Even the little touchpad that annoys the heck out of me is still pretty nice on that thing. I do wish it was replaced with like a faceplate or something like that, though.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not big on the middle thing for both the DualShock 4 and the DualSense. Like, I could take it or leave it, but the rest of it still just feels so, it's perfect.
Exactly. It feels amazing, and it's weighted so well too.
Do people really like the touchpad? Is that one of the the leading factors in choosing a controller?
No, I'd say it's the worst part about the controller.
Yeah.
I just think it's too complicated overall. I just want to push some buttons and have some things happen on my TV.
Well, I liked in The Last of Us Part 2 where they finally gave it a function, maybe, 4 years after the console came out? Or even 5 or 6 years, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
It was a long time after the console came out, and they finally made it worthwhile because you get to strum your little guitar.
Right, that was fun.
Okay, that's actually pretty sick.
That was nice, but other than first-party PlayStation games, like, the functionality doesn't get built into it. What I like about the DualSense is, like, you're getting those adaptive triggers in a lot of games right now. Playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and using those adaptive triggers feels very cool. Like, you're firing a crossbow and it stops at a certain point for you to finally pull through that last little bit to fire it off, and it feels cool.
I did actually like the way the bow felt, because I remember when you first brought the console home and we were playing with the controller. I think it was like a little tutorial thing where we were shaking people and you had to pull them out of your controller.
It was
and then shoot a bow.
Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, that was really cool. I actually liked that. I can't imagine me wanting anything further than the resistance on the triggers, because it makes it feel a little more fun, a little more immersive.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't like the face pad, and I think honestly the sounds that come out of your controller completely throw me off.
Oh, see, I actually loved it when I played Guardians of the Galaxy, where like someone would come in over the intercom and it wouldn't play through the TV, it would play through the controller.
Oh, I
so
love
like your
that.
squad mates start talking to you and it's playing through you like a walkie-talkie through your controller. Threw me off at first, but then when it started happening more, I was like, oh, this feels real. This is cool.
Yeah, they had that on the Wii with the Wiimote, but I never thought it was worth it on there. I always hated it whenever it made a sound. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Like on the Rabbids games, the Rayman Raving Rabbids games.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what pissed me off was
Yeah.
Rayman Raving Rabbids 2.
Yeah, and it would like talk to you constantly.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have anything interesting to say. It would just go, wah, wah! And then, why am I listening to that?
No, it's really cool what they do whenever games build in the DualSense functionality. I really like it. I hope that Xbox comes out with a cool controller like that. I know Nintendo never will, so I'm not going to ask for it.
Yeah, but at least they're still serving the GameCube controller so that I can play it with Smash.
Exactly. I do have one more thing to bring up before we get into our topic, though, because I think I have a healing factor, guys.
Do tell.
I got surgery yesterday. I got wisdom tooth surgery on my bottom 2 wisdom teeth, and I got out of the surgery. I was numb. I was like, staring at my hands, like all like, whoa, what just happened to me? I get in the car. The lady's talking to my mom. I have no clue what she's saying. I'm sitting here just like, whoa, I can't believe I'm existing right now. And so I'm sitting in the car waiting to get home, and I look at my mom like, I feel great. I get all the way back to the apartment. The numbness wears off after like 4 or 5 hours. I'm sitting around, and I'm like, oh, really? No pain's kicking in. I take the hydrocodone. I take the Aleve, and I'm like, okay, well, all of this stuff will be out of my system by the time I get up in the middle of the night. So I'm probably going to be in a lot of pain tomorrow. I wake up in the middle of the night. I just got like a little tiny bit of like jaw soreness, and I'm like, oh, that's not a lot of pain. And I was like, oh, I'll just go back to sleep then. Go back to sleep. Wake up at like 6 a.m. And I'm just, I felt really good. I woke up at 6 a.m. like, oh, I don't know why I took 2 days off of work. I'm going to work today. So I text my boss. I go to work. Had a whole day of work. Pain never got worse. I feel great.
Okay, so are we thinking at this point, since you had your wisdom teeth pulled out, that you redid your point buy while you were down? So like your wisdom dropped, your con went up?
Absolutely. So what I am thinking that it's something along those lines, because I would assume I started somewhere at like a 10 to 12 wisdom.
Okay.
We'll say I lost a point for each tooth. So I'm at either a 10 or an 8 wisdom, a negative or a 0, something like that. But yeah, I had an infection in the bottom left tooth last week, so my constitution must have gotten higher because I'm less prone to teeth infection for having less teeth.
That makes perfect sense. Also, I hate this bit, But
So I think I have a healing factor because I don't have wisdom tooth pain after getting them taken out.
yeah. I think they got you on some good drugs.
What do you mean? I haven't taken any today.
No, but I mean, it'll kick in. It's got to kick in.
No, the first 2 days are supposed to be the worst pain.
If it kicked in at this point, I'd be pretty surprised. I don't
That's
think
what I'm
it's supposed to
saying. The
kick in
first
this
2
late.
days are supposed to be your worst pain. Like, I talked to everybody, and they said throbbing pain on day 2. Today is day 2.
I'm dumbfounded. But I still have my wisdom teeth because
Get them out.
Yeah,
Get them out. It's going to get infected, and you're going to be miserable for 5 days.
No, my wisdom teeth are perfect. They're coming in great. I get to hang on to those, and it's a +4 to wisdom for the rest of my life.
Are they actually coming in well?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, if you got the room in your mouth, keep them. But I definitely did not. The one on my bottom left, like, partially erupted, and then it got infected. And I was like, well, this is the end of my life. It was like, okay, I can choose to pay exorbitant amounts of money for a medical procedure or death. And I chose to pay money for a medical procedure. And welcome to the U.S. healthcare.
Do we know how long wisdom teeth take to come in? Because Zach just said his teeth are coming in nicely, and it's mind-boggling. Because I thought all
they're supposed to
12-year-olds
come in
start losing
before
their
you're
wisdoms.
like, no, wisdom teeth start coming in before you're like sometime before you're 28-ish.
Really? It could take that long?
Yeah, it can take up to when you're like 28, and some of them don't even come in at that point because they what's it called? Impact. So my top 2, I have not seen anything of. I got x-rays done. They're still way up here, like way at the top of my mouth because they're impacted at the top ones, and the doctor was like, you don't feel those, right? And I was like, no, nothing. And he goes, yeah, that probably won't bother you for like another decade or so. So like, I wouldn't worry about taking those out for some time. And I was like, okay, cool. And so he was like, I recommend just taking out the bottom too. And I was like, okay, that's what I'll do.
Why do we have these things at all?
Because our mouths, because of evolution, our mouths used to be wider. We used to be able to fit a third molar, and we needed them for chewing more things. But now, since we've gotten like more softer foods, our mouths have slowly gotten smaller over the centuries. Now that our mouths are smaller, we don't have room for those third sets of teeth, and evolution has not kicked those out of our mouths yet, so we still have them.
That's crazy.
You're
though.
welcome for the science
That's
lesson.
crazy.
Yeah, but some of us are still on the Neanderthal plan, and so unga bunga. And keep in mind,
You got the long hair, the beard, you're rocking it.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm channeling. That's why I grew out my hair. It was just for the wisdom teeth.
And also, since nobody wanted to point it out yet, we are all 24 today, so that's nice. I finally caught up to you boys. This episode will be releasing the day after my birthday. Woohoo!
Yeah, happy birthday, Seth.
Listen, I don't usually celebrate or do anything on my birthday except eat a whole pizza. I got my wisdom teeth out yesterday. I cannot eat a whole pizza today. It sucks.
You could, but you're too much of a sissy to do it, right?
Yeah, I would really love some dry sockets and for these stitches to come out, so that way I can, go back to the doctor.
Yep,
the week
a
before
great
I go to
idea.
Austin.
Yeah.
But think about it. This may be your one true opportunity to try juiced pizza.
Or how about I wait till I go to Austin next week? RTX, if anybody happens to be there and listening to this episode, come find me. It's going to be great. So
Just look for the guy with
yeah,
the
when I
swollen
go
face.
there, my face won't be swollen in a week.
You have a little bit. I can still see it in your face a little bit.
I said in a week.
You don't know that.
In a
It might
week,
be.
my
It
face
might
won't
be.
be swollen anymore.
Look, it'll be easy to find you, Seth. Just give it a little slap
Yeah,
right before you go.
the first guy you see on the street with a swollen face, that's Seth Pittman. Find him.
All right, you have your mission.
And with that, let's begin this episode of Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. My name is Seth Pittman. I'm sitting with Andrew Romano and Zachary Carvine. How are you boys doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I was at work for an extra 3 hours today, so I'm invigorated with energy.
That's fantastic, and I'm doing just as good as I always am.
And as I said before, I have a healing factor, so I am doing amazing. No pain in my teeth whatsoever. And this week, we are going to be talking about epic encounters in D&D. We had one recently. As usual, we're going to go back, tell our stories, and then use what we learned from our own experiences to give you advice on what you should do with your experiences. What are your boys' thoughts on this week's past epic encounter that we had?
Yeah, well, and so I think just to give everyone context, when we say epic encounters, we're talking about encounters with creatures that, as a player, you never really want to run into. You know that they're out there, but you think, oh God, this incredibly powerful monster, it exists, but I sure hope that I don't have to fight one because I might die.
What would some good examples be?
Yeah, so I think a great example would be this past week when we fought an ancient red dragon.
Woo! Woo! At level 12.
We were level 12.
Now, what qualifies as fighting an ancient red dragon? Because I actually did 0 points of damage to the dragon. While you guys were beating it down, I was like, no, you can be good. Don't hurt us, please.
Which I thought was a dumb decision because it's like, oh, let me just waste my turns.
I mean, it worked. I beat him, so.
It did not work.
I got the XP and leveled up. I
did.
won. I single-handedly beat this ancient red dragon with nothing but my persuasion checks.
Sure. So, other examples of epic encounters, I would say if you're low enough level, a beholder for the first time would be one. Any sort of god or deity figure, like a Zariel, a Bahamut, a Tiamat. You go to fight those kinds of figures, those are epic encounters. Anything that you're like going up against that is way too tall of an order for you.
Yeah, and I would extend that to it doesn't necessarily matter about the CR, right? So if you're a low
Right, like
level
a goblin
party,
boss could be an epic encounter.
Yeah, sure. But especially I'm thinking creatures that have the potential and your players know it to kill, right? There's even a cockatrice. This thing can petrify you at first level. You fail that save, you're done.
Yeah, or a boss fight against a Medusa.
Yeah, a Medusa, a perfect, epic level, legendary creature, mind flayers, elder brain, anything like that. A kraken.
A kraken.
Oh,
any kind of giant, like a giant boss.
Yeah. I mean, even a hill giant at low levels. That's
Oh yeah.
Insanely dangerous. And I've thought about when I was planning out my own homebrew campaign before I scrapped that whole idea. That's how I was going to open it up. Was you guys are first level? Here's a hill giant.
I thought you were going to say you guys are first level. Here's a kraken.
No.
Could you imagine?
So I feel like the differential, because what we're talking about is all these different abilities, right? While something that's just purely strong and powerful could be an epic encounter, I feel like it's more so any creature that has some sort of card up its sleeve, like a basilisk you were talking about, can petrify you, right? An ancient dragon of some kind has a breath weapon, something that maybe can turn invisible, like a greater invisibility but a power kind of a thing, As long as they have something that can overcome you or trick you, I feel like that becomes an epic encounter.
For sure. So, speaking, about our most recent epic encounter, I really want to get into sort of the elements that make up a great epic encounter for your players. So I think when we're talking about this kind of fight, it's always got to be tipped in such a way where your players think, oh no, we can't possibly win, but we have to try anyway.
And let me say this to the audience, because every encounter I hand this group of players is literally, we have to turn and run. We can't win. Because every time we get into an encounter, Zach goes, oh no, I think we got to bail, boys. And every single time they win.
Okay, but, listen, hear me out. We're a group of level 12 adventurers, and yes, we have dealt with, all of the Descent into Avernus campaign, but we haven't done this sort of level of encounter. So we come into this room, and there's an ancient red dragon. Not only that, but there's also a young red dragon behind us, which isn't, it isn't nothing. So we enter
and
this,
a red dragon wormling.
Yeah, and a red dragon wormling. All echoes of this ancient red dragon from other dimensions, it seems. But only half there or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we're working out the lore.
I haven't dropped all of the story notes for the players, but basically they were going up against Hundar, this very strong ancient red dragon from Mintarn, which is actually in Forgotten Realms lore. So setting the scene a little bit, they're inside of his volcano, they're going after him, and they walk into a room with Hundar himself, the ancient red dragon, who appears to be looking through some sort of telescope of some sort into other dimensions, seeing what's going on across the multiverse. Very cool, very MCU-esque, MCU-esque Darkholdy, which is kind of what I was going for with that whole storyline. And yeah, so the players get in there. What did you guys think whenever you stepped in the room with Hundar?
Well, so my immediate thought, and this is partially, the metagame that I keep to myself, right, while we're playing, but I think there's no way. Seth's not going to have us fight Hundar. He's clearly a reasonable man that we're going to talk to get the thing that we asked for, and then we're going to leave. But he said, no, I'm controlling this conversation, and I'm actually quite tired of you adventurers. I don't care about whatever you are going to offer me as tribute. I think I'm going to eat you instead. Everyone roll initiative. and all of a sudden, the room goes dead quiet. Our eyes go wide. We look at each other and we think, what do we do? So I think that moment, just right there, that's what defines an epic encounter for me, is that moment of the players, are we ready for this? So there are multiple ways to handle this, and none of them are, particularly wrong. So,
and I would say you guys had multiple ways to handle this.
Yeah, 100%. So we are 12th level characters, and we do have, a litany of magic items that we've acquired over our adventures. So, what you have to introduce as a DM in these situations, if you're not, just trying to bait out a TPK, maybe that'll forward your plot in some way. That might be a valid use of this as well. But I'm thinking this is a fight that the players can win. And so there's got to be just something that we know that we can use, like a MacGuffin. Either it's a piece of information about this monster that we know ahead of time. Maybe, yes, it's an ancient red dragon, but he's got this particular weakness that we can abuse. In this case, we hadn't done our research to that point, so we weren't going in with the intent of fighting, so maybe that's on us, and we could have done some better prep work. But instead, we
now
did
I will
have...
say before the session, Drew told me multiple times we're fighting the dragon inside the volcano, right? And I went, we'll see. A million times he was like, yeah, I just want to have a dragon fight in the volcano, so we better have it, Seth.
There was no way anybody at our table that thought we weren't going into this volcano. Come on.
Well, you're the only one who tried diplomacy.
And it worked. It worked great.
It did not.
It did. I talked him down. Either way.
you talked him.
I leveled up. That's all that matters.
You talked to him till he died.
So I thought when we were going into I thought it was well within the realm of possibility for Seth to throw an adult red dragon at us, which would still be a deadly encounter for our group.
Too easy.
Yeah, apparently. So what we had at our disposal, like we said, we finished Baldur's Gate: Descent into Avernus, and the way that we wrapped up that campaign is we convinced Archduke or Duchess Zariel of Avernus to come back to the side of good. She became an angel again, and she took us out of hell. As a part of a parting gift for all the good that we did, she gave us one of her feathers, and she said, "You can use this, and I will provide you assistance once more." It was time. We haven't. We were saving this for a rainy day, of course, because we hadn't run into an ancient red dragon up to this point, and we thought, this is going to be something to use for the final boss for sure. That was not the case. So the ancient red dragon goes first in initiative. We're all almost
It was
dead.
more like in the middle because a couple of the party was able to get around him and out of the way of his breath weapon.
That's true, but in any case, we're walking into his chamber on this linear bridge, and so the rogue and the monk were able to go first in initiative and get out of the way. Everyone else takes the breath weapon from this monster. I've got a ring of evasion and resistance to fire, so I don't take that much. But Pyth, Hakili, Rhea, everyone, we're within 5 hit points. In the first round of combat.
Yeah, so it was fair.
Yeah. So we were just terrified. I look at everyone in the group and I say, "All right, is this a feather moment?" We all agree. So I whip out the feather on my turn.
Now I will say you did have a litany of other options. One was, just completely blow your loads to all ends, maybe losing a party member or two and killing the ancient red dragon, which I thought was very possible. And And I will say, for all the DMs planning epic encounters, so it's not all about our story, when you're going into planning a session like this, I just want you to not look at the CR. I want you to not look at what abilities the creature has, its hit points, everything. I want you to think, my players can do this, because that's all I did. All I did whenever I started planning this encounter was, I am going to, like, the way my narrative is working, this is an ancient red dragon, and they will kill it. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I had no plans. I had no plans as to how that was going to happen. I just thought, they can do that. And then I did it. And it went great. Everybody lived, and it was amazing. I loved every second of it. Not everybody should do that. Not everybody should be as lax as I was in a campaign we've been running for almost 2 years, or for a little over, like, a year and a half now. Not everybody should be that lax. But me, it went well.
Yeah, and so there were some things that were stacked in our favor that were sort of hidden out from our view, right? So... yes, we were fighting an ancient red dragon, and yes, we were only level 12, but little did we know, the young red dragon, the red dragon wormling, not interested in fighting.
Correct.
Hoondar's got this. So this was really, there's 5 players and then a couple NPCs.
Yeah, you guys had 9 people in your party altogether at that point.
Yeah, and then we summoned Zariel and a couple of her angels. Like, all of a sudden, the action economy is heavily weighed in our favor. So... while it still seemed that we were inches away from death, we did actually have the upper hand. So I think that's the trick for these epic encounters, right? You make your players think that this is something that they cannot possibly overcome, even with this, overpowered magical MacGuffin, whatever it may be, a potion of storm giant size, or whatever the case may be. When the fight goes down, it's still going to feel like, oh, shit, we just barely got away with it.
Right.
And while I do feel like, a hero, we took this dragon down. Sorry, just blanked out. Just blanked out for a second. I was going to say, I feel like a hero taking this dragon down, but if he had recharged his breath weapon just one time, I think that was at least one person dead, maybe 2.
Yeah, so the way I've been doing breath weapons and rechargeable abilities lately, and you guys can use this in your own game as like a homebrew idea if you want. What I've been doing is you're supposed to roll every turn a d6 to recharge a breath weapon or any other kind of ability that recharges in that way. What I do is at the beginning of the encounter, because I know I'm going to forget, is I roll it until I get one of those numbers, and I count however many times that was. And that's how many rounds I have to wait before I can use it again. In this case, I had to wait 3 rounds. So I was like, okay, 3 rounds and I can use the breath weapon again. So I knew the first 2 rounds, I used the breath weapon, then I had to wait 2 rounds, and then I would get the breath weapon back again. And I was like, okay, they have to kill it before I get to that 3rd one. I'm probably going to kill someone. And luckily, you guys were able to kill him right before his turn.
Do you think it would be cool if you could trade some of your... because I think you get, 2 or 3 legendary actions per round as an ancient dragon.
Usually 3.
Do you think it would be cool if you could trade some of those resources for an increased chance to recharge your big MacGuffin, if you will?
I mean, you could, I guess, or you can just give them an extra breath weapon attack for 3 points if you wanted as a DM. Like, okay, you use 3 points, you get it back. No legendary actions for that round, though.
I just feel like that's a big deal. That when you're fighting a dragon, that's what you're thinking about the whole time. Is he going to recharge? Are we in a line? Are we grouped up right now? Do I need to be teleporting
With an
around?
ancient red dragon, it doesn't matter because the cone is so huge.
Well, I mean, with a good enough persuasion check, he probably wouldn't hit me.
Oh, yeah, completely. But I will say that I'm very happy with the way you guys did the encounter. Very proud of the party, the way it ended up turning out. I thought the Horn of Valhalla might get used instead, and they would in turn just surround him. And he would just have to spend time trying to get rid of all these guys, which wouldn't have been that tough for him to do, a wing attack and then one big breath weapon, and all of a sudden now all of your berserkers are dead. But at the same time, I still think it would have been a good way to distract Hoondar for a round or 2, just so you can get a shit ton of more damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was the main takeaway that I took from that session, and it happens every time that we run into something where it definitely seems like we shouldn't be capable, is especially when you get to that mid-level range, 8 through 13,
8
14?
through 13, I would say.
Yeah, it seems like creatures that have a certain CR I don't know what CR at Ancient Red Dragon is, but it's well over 20, you think, wow, that's still way out of our realm. But it's not necessarily if you know how to, deal with it. So obviously you don't throw these kinds of encounters out every session, but you save them for a rainy day for your players to, shit their pants just every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you should plan them at least, intermittently within your campaign. I think I've not ever done like an amazing job at planning them out. I think they just kind of come up sometimes, like the Beholder with you guys kind of just came up and it was like, oh, I wasn't really expecting this to be like an epic encounter, but the second you guys started fighting, I was like, whoa, this is bad. This is bad for them. And I think that ends up happening with the rocks and the Cyclops way back in the day. That kind of felt very big and epic. So I think that when it comes to planning these massive, huge, crazy encounters, the most important thing is just to give your players an out in some way, but also put a little bit of trust in them to figure it out. Like, you don't have to hand them the answer. That's probably the most important thing, because I never even know the answer when I plan them, and that's what makes D&D fun for me as the DM too, is I don't really know what's going to happen most of the sessions we do. I just kind of improvise as we go, which I think makes like the certain way that I DM very fun, because the story kind of gets written for me instead of me writing it out for days beforehand. So yeah, when it comes to planning these massive, crazy, over-the-top encounters, just have fun with it. Just allow your players to have some agency, because I've handed you guys plenty of stuff over this campaign. Like, here, take this legendary item. We're going to trust in the dice. Patrick, roll a D100. A 100? What? And then I'm like, okay.
Well, we got that magic item off the table.
Well, cool. Now you get the magic item off the table. Boom. That's for you. And I've been going with the dice this entire campaign, and I think it's the best decision we could have had.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think it was especially satisfying, this particular encounter, because we had this element of, this was a gift from a long time ago, right? This wasn't the key that fits the Hundar-shaped lock.
Right.
Seth didn't plan this out, and I could tell he didn't, because he wasn't prepared when I said, all right, we're summoning Zariel.
I said, someone hand me the Descent into Avernus book. I was like, I need a stat blocker, like stat. Yeah, no, of course I wasn't prepared. Like, I planned to give you that item for you to use whenever you wanted. So I was like, okay, I do know what happens whenever they do this. Cool. Hand me a couple books.
For sure. So that's what's, especially fun, right? And you don't want it to be necessarily a get out of jail free card, but one or two might be nice. Just over the course of your campaign, right? Maybe we're going to get into a big encounter with the big bad evil guy, and we're definitely still below that power threshold, but there's got to be some way for us to get out. And, bonus points as a DM, if you can fit that in a way where it feels like the players made their own escape, right? That they weren't just handed, oh, well, here's your plot device for you to get out.
Right, and I think that's really important, too, is that you don't always need a MacGuffin. A MacGuffin is not always necessary to have an epic encounter. I think what is important with those, though, is if your players don't have a MacGuffin on them, which I think you guys have multiple that you're able to just pull out at a moment's notice and be like, hey, here's this thing, we're going to use it now, which is nice. But if your players don't have one, I do think kind of, number crunching it a little bit is important. Like, okay, they can't immediately summon Zariel at a moment's notice. They can't summon 20 berserkers on their side at a moment's notice. Then maybe it's important that I throw an adult dragon at them instead of an ancient red dragon. But because you guys had those things, ancient red dragon it was.
Right, and so scale your big encounter to the power level of your players, right?
Exactly.
I mean, even at third level, Medusa is only like a CR3 creature, right? But I
feel like it's a CR5 or 6.
Oh, well, in any case, at that low level, if your players aren't totally stocked with things to deal with this, no one can cast Greater Restoration, then petrification? That's horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I will say, we're talking a big mad game right here. I think, not because we're good players, right? I think we're pretty okay players, but all of us have a lot of faith in each other, and we all know what we can handle. I know Zach's going to back me up. I know Sean's going to back me up. these are people that are going to defend me, and they're probably going to give their lives to block shit for him. They're going to use their abilities to avoid damage as best they can here. The DM knows what we can handle because we've been playing with him for 3 years. Please read the room. I have played
Probably
with
the best
groups of
advice from
people.
the episode.
Yes. I have played with people who cannot handle that. Even if the CR rating is lower, right? You have to take everything into account. Please get to know your players, get to know your DM. Feel confident in what you're about to do. Because there are people that can't do it and there are people that can.
Well, yeah, you don't want to throw like a big damn encounter against the ragtag group of adventurers who haven't gotten their groove yet. You want to, throw a couple softballs. Even
You have to know your players can handle it for sure. Like, don't go and throw an epic. Don't plan for 5 sessions. This huge encounter your players are gonna have, and then get into it, and your players haven't made it there yet. You really got to work up to it and know that. Okay, I'm giving them something that's a little bit out of their threshold. Can they handle that? And if it's just a bunch of sweaty dudes from the cafeteria, I don't know if they can handle it. You know what I mean? But if it's your group of close friends that have been playing D&D together for a while, you can be a little more frivolous with your encounters that are, a little tougher, especially when they're experienced players. So yeah, newer players, maybe their epic encounter is literally just the by the book Lost Mines of Phandelver boss. That works. That, like, the glass staff from Lost Mines of Phandelver, epic encounter for new players. Okay, that's tough for them. But that wouldn't do anything for you guys. You guys have been playing for a while, and you guys like make these builds that are far more powerful than anything I could have made when we first started out. And it's like, okay, instead I'm going to throw a frost giant at you.
Yeah, something. But it's always got to scale to the level. And you know what? I do think that experience is a factor as well. So when we were new players, I wouldn't expect you, my DM Seth, to throw a beholder at us when we're 7th level. I think, oh, what are you trying to do? Kill us? You've ruined my trust in you as a DM because we're all going to die and then we all die. But, at this point, I think, well, I'm shitting my pants and I'm having a great time.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I don't even like beholders anymore at this point because most of the beholders I've faced as a player at this point have killed me. So I do want to conquer one, but I'm not ready yet. I have to build my confidence back up for a beholder.
Well, you've conquered one, kind of.
I mean, I died once to do it, but does that count as a win?
And guess what?
Know.
You used another MacGuffin.
Yep.
Oh, well, but that was so good.
It was great. It was the perfect wrap up to a storyline. Go back and listen to story time number whatever, the one with the Feyholder. The Feyholder. I think that was story time number 2.
Yeah, it was a great story. And again, another moment where player ingenuity sort of got to take center stage, right?
Something
Seth
I didn't plan.
He didn't tell us that we had to do that. In fact, everyone else at the table said, Zach, this is a terrible plan. We should cut our losses. And I said, no, we're going to win.
And I feel like that's a big factor in knowing whether or not something's an epic encounter. If you're sitting there thinking, will a black hole kill this thing? And you're not sure, it's probably an epic encounter. And it was good.
Okay, any other thoughts on these massive, crazy, mythical encounters, guys?
I don't think there's anything crazy to say. I think they're dynamic fights. Anything that's going to make you think, give you an extra pound of weight in your trousers, or just change the way the game works a little bit for you, that's an epic encounter.
And I think these are tools that can be used just like everything else in D&D. From the DM standpoint here, I have fun just coming up with a story arc and making the creature I choose fit said story arc. And normally that creature just ends up being a little too powerful for you guys, and I go, it'll be fine. Because I know you guys, and I'm like, they can handle this. Like, they'll be able to kill it. But, yeah, I think go with the flow, have fun with it, and just like Drew said, read the room when it comes to building these encounters, like anything that's a little bit above your player's pay grade, because it's very easy to TPK your party and then either have to plot device your way out of it or be very sad. All your players are very sad and they don't want to play for you anymore because you're the DM that fucked them over.
Yeah, 100%. And so you can use these tips and tricks. I mean, obviously, you can weigh the action economy in your players' favor. You can give them MacGuffins, but ultimately, you do have to allow. If you create an epic encounter and it results in a TPK. You have to allow, the room for that. So don't throw these around willy-nilly.
And I would say that it's also a good chance for you to bring in like NPCs and such into the party, characters that the players have met along the way and or made friends with. A lot of these encounters that are a little too heavy for you guys ends up bringing in allies to you. So when back in Storm King's Thunder, giants would ally with you guys in order to fight other groups of giants. Or back whenever we would play with Lanky Eric in our old campaign, we had a group of NPCs who helped us out with fighting a Tyrannosaurus Rex on an island. That was cool. So all of that together, I think that it can be a good plot device for some allies to step in, have some fun with you as well, and then it ends up turning into, okay, well, hopefully one of the allies dies, or hopefully one of us doesn't die, and it just makes it a lot more fun.
Agreed.
But dying's also fun.
Dying's fun in context of a story. And with that, thank you guys so much for listening to this slightly shorter episode of Table Talk Friday. If you would like to hear more from me and the boys, you can find us at Table Talk Friday on TikTok, at Table Talk Friday on Twitter. That's where I tweet things out every single Friday. And you can email us at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. If you would like to, you can send us your questions, your comments, your concerns, any inquiries. Tell us about any kinds of crazy epic encounters that your DMs have put in the game, or something that you would like to see or hear us do. If you've got any crazy DM ideas for me, I will put it in the game and kill my players. And with that, can I have an epic adventurer take me out?
Seth, I don't know what you're talking about. We're gonna die. I don't know why you thought we could do this, but I'm shitting my pants. I'm crying. We're gonna die.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday. For more information, advice, questions, comments, and concerns, you can email the boys at tabletalkfriday@gmail.com. And if you'd like to tell your own stories, why don't you hit them up there? Send an inquiry or something, a sending spell. Thank you very much for listening, and please follow and come back next week. Goodbye. Bye-bye.